requested to affirm on its first reading a real estate tax rate increase to 16 cents per $100 of assessed value, and to achieve the same amount of revenue in light of the recent increased assessment to be used for the construction of the new police department headquarters. The personal property tax rate to remain the same at 64 cents per $100 assessed value, and to decrease the personal property tax relief rate from 60% to 56% of value on the first 20,000 of assessed value for qualifying vehicles of a value greater than $1,000. Council is aware we must lead with a set tax rate from tonight's meeting.
The motion, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
We do have the public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves.
We do, that's okay.
We're trying to appease everybody in here, and we want to be as transparent as we possibly can.
That's okay. We have
Be and get everybody to talk. So.
We have 5 speakers this morning, or this evening.
All right, let me open up the meeting.
Yes.
This public hearing is now open. Ms.
Dennis
Perry.
Willingham.
Just want everybody to know this alias Gene.
Dennis Willingham. I live at 792 Old Belmont Road, and I don't understand how we can make a $10 million, $10 to $12 million mistake or more. When I go to the bank and try to borrow $10,000 to $15,000, I got to have all my T's crossed, all my I's dotted before anybody will allow me any money. So I think each and every one on the council that had anything to do with this debt ought to be responsible until it's paid in full, whether you leave council, or through garnishment of your next job, or voluntary payments. I think you ought to be responsible until it's paid, and take the burden off of us somewhat. You're the ones that was campaigning to what job you would do for us. I think you were trying to say, what job can you do to us, not for us. So how much do you think more we can take? I mean, I'm on fixed income. And of course I got just a little bit of a raise this year, but then my insurance turned around and took a hit. So now time you take some more out of me, I'm going to be back behind the 8 ball from where I started. So I'm sure this tax rate is just in stone. It's not going to be any difference what I say or what I do. But and just like the police station, like I say, you're going to put encrypted radios in it. How much more are you going to try to hide from us? I mean, a lot of people got scanners out here that can keep up with the public to some degree. I mean, they don't know everything, but, and this hearing, this thing that he said, she said, they said, doesn't really get the job done. Like I say, I mean, you just don't, you're trying to pass the buck on to somebody else. You're not trying to take responsibility for your actions that you've already done, which I think is very wrong. So I don't know why you won't man up and take the blame, and instead of trying to just say, well, he did it, or whatever. And the contractors somewhere have been paid to build this building. Why can't we work out some kind of a plan with them at a reasonable interest rate or something to pay them back? Because I know them contractors haven't worked anything all these last years or so. So well, the only thing I know anymore is possible, what am I going to do? Maybe go on food stamps and welfare? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Melanie Salins.
Melanie Salins, 95 Murray's Drive. I really got to cover pretty much everything in the first section, but then something came up when I heard Mr. Meza talk about how the EDA issues were discovered in May. The vote for the bond was June 11th. I begged all of you guys to look at the bunk deal that the EDA was giving you on those hospital bonds and waiving millions of dollars in fees. And if you already knew that the EDA wasn't being truthful, why was I ignored? Why did you not recuse yourself for the first time all year and make that tie-breaking vote in their favor when you knew that the EDA couldn't be trusted for weeks leading up to that vote? You gifted away millions of dollars. And now, I guess we're the easy ones to pin it on. I mean, morale in this town is pretty low right now because we're getting punished after we didn't make the mistakes. We weren't listened to. And how do we get stuck footing the bill here? I would like to ask for you to delay any decision to raise taxes until you investigate the pilot, because that's something I've been looking into for a year as well. And when I first approached you guys with it, I was told, well, we have a surplus. There's plenty of money. We don't need to do that. And then as I've messaged a lot of you over the last 2 weeks, you haven't really gotten much interest in a means by which I'm saying, hey, I have a free, several $100,000 for you. I have this great solution for you. I would have thought you would have been excited about that. And it seems like, well, maybe we'll just take the easy way and just raise taxes instead, because it might be a little bit of work and it might be hard to make Valley Health pay their fair share after they have just trampled upon this town over and over and over again for the last year. So I would like for you to consider that when you're considering further tax hikes, because this isn't just 2.5 cents. It's our home values. I mean, my home value reassessed at a ridiculous rate, and now the county's looking at adding 6 cents to it as well. The electric rates are going up. I mean, to the little guy, where do we get that extra money? Do we have somebody to pass it off to? No. We have to look at our budget, and we have to figure out, what are we going to cut? What are we not going to spend money on? And I would like for you guys to do that. What are you going to cut? There has to be something that can be cut somewhere to get that price down. And that pilot, that covers everything you need. So please consider that.
Thank you.
Mr. Cameron?
Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening.
Don't forget to state your name, Kenneth.
My name is Dameron Kenneth, 715 Stockton Road, Front Royal. The two newest members of the council both ran on lower taxes, both of them, and I'm with you 100%. And here we are talking about an astronomical increase. Now, in balancing a budget, you've got two sides. You've got income, you've got an expense. You can either increase your income or you can decrease the expense. Either one of them brings them into balance. Now, I realize that sins of our fathers are vested on us. You guys approved the new police department. Supposedly, the contractor bid $7.36 million. I thought that was ridiculous. Now it turns out it's being talked about as $10.2 million. That's a hell of an increase, pardon my French. I don't know how the cost growth got in there, but somebody ought to know. Now you hire a clerk of the works to keep track of this stuff. Keep from having change orders creep in and delays happen. By the way, today's, what, the 84th day it's overdue? Sure, it rained a little bit. It always rains in front of all of them. Now, the reassessment that the county just conducted, your article in the paper said it went up by an aggregate of 11.18% over last assessment. Now my sister's rate went up 14%. So maybe this 11 is an average or something, I don't know. But anyhow, even if you just accept that as it is, the budget for real taxes for fiscal 19 is $903 grand. Add this 11.18%, and you're up to $1,026,000. That's $126 $23,000 extra. Why can't you use that? Now, understand you got to pay for what you eat. We're hooked into that police department. Now, instead of using the EDA as a piggy bank, which you guys have been doing for years now, anything you don't want to pay for, you send it over to Jennifer. Let her fumble with it. Lord only knows what she did after that. But we got to pay for it. Why not go and get a damn loan? There are people that make loans. Banks make loans every day. 3%, 4%, whatever it costs, let's take a loan and do it. Now, if you get a 30% loan at 3%, which might be tough nowadays, but that costs you $516 grand a year. Let's do it. If we can get a 3% loan for 30 years, let's do it. Quit fooling around with new market tax credits that may not come true, will not come true, I should say. Despite what Jennifer told you, and you guys swallow hook, line, and sinker. Let's go ahead and do loan financing. That's all I got to say on the tax increase. One other issue regarding EDA. I don't know whether Mr. Wilson's here or not, but I don't believe you paid for Leech Run Parkway yet. And if that's true, you owe another $2.3 million. Maybe Mr. Wilson can chase that down for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Orndorff.
My name is Ann Orndorff. My husband and I are owners of Springtime Garden Center. My address is 815 Warren Avenue. And I'm speaking tonight to protest the proposed tax increase to the citizens of Front Royal. As you know, if you live in the town limits, you're taxed twice. You're taxed by the town and also by the county. And as the county has raised their assessments unbelievable on the property, and they are now asking for the 6th tax increase in 6 years. And then on top of that, Front Royal is asking for an increase as well. And with both of those increases, we're looking at substantial costs to the citizens in this town. We have a lot of seniors, retired individuals, people that live on fixed income, and it's definitely going to be a hardship. And they're going to have to worry about, are they going to be able to pay their taxes and possibly lose their properties. I think when you accepted a bid from the contractor to build a police station for $10 million, they should be held to that. If costs were going over budget, somebody should have been monitoring the cost override and made appropriate changes to downsize some of the things that were put into the police station. Changes could have been made before now. I feel the $500,000 that's found can be found. Let's make an effort to collect delinquent taxes. That goes back a number of years. Some of that could possibly be collected. You know, I don't want this to appear rude. You are stewards of our money, our taxpayer money, and you have to make changes, just like all of us do within a family budget. If we can't afford something and have no way of paying for it, we don't buy it. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul, because Paul could be broke. And if changes aren't made, I really feel that we're going to see and witness the slow death of a small town. Increased cost of utilities, increased fuel and food prices, increased cost of affordable housing, shortage of clean, affordable housing, and now proposed tax increases simply means that our community is not going to have that disposable income to support small business. There's not going to be extra money for restaurants. People are going to shop at Walmart instead of Ramsey's or Southern States or Springtime to save money. And stores on Main Street, where the rents are already outrageously high, are going to close. But small business is the backbone of this community. And the trickle-down effect has been seen in small towns all over the country. And residents are going to start moving to more affordable counties. And those of us on this side of the podium can see it, but we just don't understand why you don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Cook.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. William Hunt, 409 East Main Street, Susie Frozen Trees. I agree with what I've heard tonight. Mom and Pops built this country. Mom and Pops are what's going to save this country. But Mom and Pops are going to close their businesses by being shut out from having to raise their prices when they can't afford their bills and their supplies for increases. I agree we need a new police station. My wife's a probation officer. I love the police station that we have being built, and that's something that needs to be continued forward. But as a business owner, as a small business owner in any area of the country, if I don't have the money, I gotta borrow the money or I don't buy it. Plain and simple. There's no ands, ifs, or buts in that. We can blame Jennifer for certain issues. It's not Jennifer's fault. It's your fault. It's our fault. Every one of us in this room. So if the tax increase has to go up to pay it, then we'll have to do it. But I agree with what she just said. We're going to run mom and pops out of business, and we're going to have more big box stores. Well, when the big box stores come to town, what are they going to demand? They're going to demand tax breaks, tax credits, no bonds. That's what's going to happen. And then where are you going to have us? We're going to be dead wood all over again. That's what it's going to end up in. So I say take that upon ourselves. I've spoken to all of y'all. I have respect for every one of you that sit up here. I'm not trying to tell you that you're doing anything wrong. We did say we weren't going to raise taxes, but we have to look at a budget. I have to look at a budget with what I do. Taxes have to be increased at certain times, but the tax assessments that are going on our properties right now have already increased. That's more money going out. The utilities are going up. That's more money going out. So what am I going to do? Raise the prices on my ice cream? That's what I'm going to have to do to stay in business, because I struggle just like everybody else struggles. Some of y'all run your own businesses. You're struggling right along with us. So this tax credit or this tax increase is going to affect you the same way it's going to affect me. So I say look long and hard inside your heart and do what is right for our citizens of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Public hearing is now closed. All right, entertain a motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that council affirm on its first reading to keep our real estate tax at 13.5 cents of assessed value, which represents no increase to this year's budget. I further propose, this is off script, so if I get this wrong, let me know. I further propose that we reallocate the funds, the budgeted line items for the funds for the West Main Connector. That's the road that is supposed to be going through the Avtech site, of $90,000 to be used for the construction of the new police department headquarters and associated debt service. Personal property tax rate remained the same at 0.64 cents per 100 assessed value. Decrease the personal property tax relief rate from 60% to 56% of value on the first $20,000 of assessed value for qualifying vehicles with an assessed value greater than $1,000. The personal property tax relief rate of 100% remain the same for qualifying vehicles with an assessed value of $1,000 or less, pursuant to Virginia Code 58.1-3524. I further move the council affirm on its first reading a FY 2018-2019 budget amendment in the amount of $515,945 to be used for the construction of the police department headquarters and associated debt services. I continue to further move the council affirm on its first reading an ordinance amendment of chapter 75-44 accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion amongst council members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I just want to clarify what I just did, if that's okay. Okay. So, sorry, it's a little bit off script. I appreciate everybody's feedback. I'd like to explain what I just did so that everybody can understand before council starts commenting on it. So our current tax rate of 13.5 cents What I proposed is that we keep it the same. We take the revenues from the increased assessments that we're already going to receive of approximately $183,445. Add that to the debt service of our police station, which takes us to $425,945. Then add an additional $90,000 that we've had line item for the West Main Connector, road that I'd like to see built, but currently is going to be a road to nowhere. This is the IT federal site, which brings an allocation of $515,945 towards the debt service of our police station. A 30-year conventional loan, fluctuates give or take on the interest. I know that BJ's going to cringe when I say it. Is approximated at $563,822. So there is a difference in there of roughly $50,000. That's a 30-year loan, but I'm confident that the council can figure out a way to cover $50,000 in our general fund budget. And in fact, in our work sessions, which I do highly encourage folks to attend, we actually don't agree a lot. And a lot of that is flushed out in work session. We go back and forth on different ways to pay for the police station. You typically hear a vote here because we've spent hours and hours belaboring the point in our work sessions, which are open to the public. And there you would hear some of the different ideas that are vetted out and kind of more the intent behind council's vote. That's my idea, my plan to keep the tax rate where it is, and I think again that we were able to get there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amended motion that we raise the tax rate to 15 cents.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion on the amendment? Yes, Mr. Mayor. Over the past several years, we have tried to get this council to raise the taxes a half a cent, a penny, whatever, and nobody seemed to want to realize that we had a project going on that was going to be approximately the $10 million that has been built. We try to kick the can down the road, and now the can has stopped because we're going to have to make a major decision. And that decision has to be made by this council. When this thing all started, I asked the council to set a limit on the construction of the police department. And we talked about it, and we started out at around a little over $5 million. Every month after that, it seemed like the architect came in and added another $500 to $1 million per month for 6 months, until the amount got up to somewhere in the neighborhood of a little over almost 10 million, 9 point something. And nobody wanted to look at the picture at that time that somewhere along the line we was going to have to pay the bill. Now that time has come. That time is here. The building is finished, or almost finished. We should be moving the police department in sometime in April, or the end of April. And we have to make a decision. We have cut our budget in a lot of ways, but a lot of things have gone up. Insurance for the employees has gone up 15.1%, which I'm sure some of you guys have done that too. We have agreed not to pay the 15.1, but a percentage of it. So that goes back to our employees in order for them to pay that. The next thing I like to talk about is the fact that when we looked at this police department, we all said that we wasn't going to build a Taj Mahal like the county had built. Well, that went out the window pretty quick because they added this and that and whatever, and whoever mentioned that, I agreed with them tonight at this meeting, because we built a building that a lot of things, in my opinion, could have been eliminated. But the council at that time didn't agree to that. And so we did. As a matter of fact, Ms. Egger and I were the two that kept arguing that point, but we never got the vote to let that thing happen. So we started a police department that built it. We got 9 point some million in it. We're going to have to borrow around $10 million. when we look at the whole total fact and the paperwork that we have been given, we can get a 20-year loan. That's 20 years, not 30, with a savings of over $3,317,000 if we go to a 20-year loan. Now, when you divide that by the amount of taxes we get a year per penny, and you divide that into the savings, that would take 25 years in order to pay that interest that we could save if we went to the 20-year loan. If you don't believe that, you can look at our figures and divide it by that number of years, and you can see exactly what I'm referring to. And that's why I'm proposing that we take and put the 15-cent increase this year. If we don't do it this year, we're going to have to raise it again next year in order just to pay the loan back, because what Mr. Meadows is talking about doing won't only, I don't even think they'll pay the interest according to our figures. So that means a 30-year loan is going to go up to 31, 32, 33 years. So do we want to save $3.5 million by getting the 2 cents increase this year? Or do we want to just kick the can down the road again and keep adding more and more and more and still never come up with a reality figure? So my proposal is 15 cents at this time, and this will cover our loan. We can go immediately to the banks here locally and get a loan, just like Mr. Rowland has said. If we wait and do it later, we're going to have to go to the Virginia Revolving Fund, which means we're going to have to put it out on the bond market. We don't know what the interest will be. We don't know when the time will be. It could be higher. I'm sure it won't be any lower, but the interest rate could be higher. Today we can get a loan at 0.39%. If we wait to do the other one, it's going to be a little over 4%. So I am proposing that we raise the tax to 14 cents or 15 cents in order to cover a loan that we can get paid off in 20 years and save you as a taxpayer and me as a taxpayer $3,500,000.
Just for clarification, Councilman Teal, does the amendment include the 90,000?
Yes.
Or exclude it?
That includes the 90,000. Also, I missed one thing too. I wanted it to be placed on the sunset clause as well. That when it's paid off, that the interest or the rates drop back to the amount of money that we raised to pay for.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr.
Excuse
Mayor.
me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Jennifer?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask Mr. Napier a question?
Sure.
Mr. Napier, as Mr. T-Walt's motion is in essence entirely different, it's not actually an amendment, it actually replaces it with a different amount. We need to actually vote on Mr. Metz's first and then vote on Mr. T-Walt's.
It is an amendment in the form of a replacement motion, and so I think we can proceed with an amendment in the form of a replacement motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Napier, does the replacement motion just needs a second to stand, or does it need a full council vote?
No, it's an amendment that we're going to be voting on.
The entire council will need to vote on it, and it will take a majority vote on the amendment, and then depending on that vote, then it will either be amended in its entirety, or else it will go back to the original motion that you made.
Okay, sorry, I don't think that was clear. So, Councilman T-Walt's amendment got a second. Does it take just a second, or does it take a council vote to approve, to uphold his amendment? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking.
So the second is all it needed, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
I've been a resident of Farwell for 40 years, after several of my other retirements. I remember, and most of you in this room probably remember, a remodeled fire department, doorways that the police department has put in. The can's been kicked down the road at least 40 years that I know of for the police department. We then moved them to an old post office. that came to us through somebody's benevolence. That building became a sad place for anybody to work. We then turned around and moved them into the old sheriff's department building. And we had to pay the county $50,000 a year annually for rental on that property. And that troubles me. Now for 40 years we've been kicking the police department down the road and not upgrading anything. Been talking about a building for 40 years that I remember. These are the kind of things that the public forgets. But I remember, but I also remember when I first joined council, I stood right here and brought this up because I was very concerned about payments and how we were going to pay for this stuff. There were too many projects going on in the town and the county that our budget does not merit. Now, I have praised Mr. Mays' point because I missed it on the $90,000 for the connector road. Now that's annual. That goes into what we're proposing tonight. Plus this $50,000 that we're paying the county every year. So that's $140,000 that we tend to forget. And I think that 90,000 move was a great move because that reduced the amount of, just think if we didn't have those things in place. Mr. T-Walt and I have been sitting here for my 2 years and I said, raise it a penny, raise it a half a penny. Sunset clause it. Let's move this thing in so we have the money 2 years ago rather than a 15-cent tonight. We got voted down. Every time that we went to do something, it got voted down. The taxes in this community has not been raised other than the police department and the connector road. There was not the best of planning for the projects going forward. That's my concern. So we're going to kick that can down the road again, and we're going $50,000 in debt again. The first proposal that came out said, oh, we're just going to pay the principal the first year and not pay any interest. Now what kind of business is that? I paid off my house by making payments more than what was required, and I paid it off sooner. Planning is all important. Mr. T-Walt and I was not heard 2 years ago when we started this process. Thankfully, BJ our financial director took a long, hard look at my financial sheet and said, you know, we have a problem. The second point I wanted to make, or third point, was I question where is the documentation coming from the EDA? That's how we got started. If I get a bill, I want to know what I'm paying for. We weren't getting that. We had a long, hard discussion about that as a council. Those are the things that go on that the public probably is not aware of unless you come to our work sessions. I won't bore you anymore, but it is frustrating when you look at these things and you got to pay for these things as a council, and you got to figure out where it's coming from. It's very hard.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. Two clarifying points. Number one, the new market tax credit got brought up tonight, referenced as a $10 million mistake, and I have seen this one on social media as well. I want to make clear that we've always known that the new market tax credit was a potential good deal that we wanted to lock in at, and I wanted to explain a little bit of the risk that was associated with that. So it was, in simplest terms, a standard loan, 30-year loan, where we were going to do 7 years of interest only. At the end of 7 years, as part of the program, $3 million of the $10 million debt would be forgiven. That's what was told to us, at roughly 3% interest rate. Okay, standard loan. We were going to do 7 years of interest only. It came to $250,000, $275,000 a year of debt service, which we could have covered under that year debt, under that year's general fund. Worst case scenario, we've always known this. Worst case scenario, we didn't get the new market tax credit. We get a conventional loan like we've always planned, a 30-year loan with an interest rate at the time would have been equivalent, now it's 4%. So it went up a percentage. I just want to make that clear because there was never, just because the new market tax credit went away, doesn't mean that town council was duped or all of a sudden we're trying to come up with $10 million. We've always known we're going to have that debt service. It was just how we're going to pay it. We had an opportunity for a good deal. It didn't come to fruition. We're back into a traditional loan like we've always planned to do in the first place. At the end of the day, either way, we had a debt service of $10 million that we knew we were getting into. So I want to make that clear because nobody was fooled on council that way. Disappointed that the loan didn't come to fruition, of course. But again, always know we were paying for this. Now back to the point of the amendment. I'm not in favor, obviously. I'll be voting against because I just outlined a way to pay for a 30-year conventional loan without raising taxes at all. I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else? Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
This is on Mr. T-Well's 15 cents. Councilman Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilman Holloway.
No.
Councilman Meza.
No.
Vice Mayor Seelock.
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall.
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
No.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. We need a motion or a, on the first motion, or is that done?
No, the amendment would make the first motion moot.
Moved, okay. All right. All right, moving along. Council approval, will amend chapter 7-23 to increase electric rates. And this will be the second reading.
Council is requested to adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance to amend Town Code Chapter 7023A and B to increase existing electric utility rates for residential and commercial customers as presented.
Motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council adopt on its second and final reading an ordinance to amend and reenact from Rural Town Code Chapter 70-23A and B to increase the existing electricity utility rates for residential and commercial customers as presented.
Motion needs second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I know that we just had a work session on this, or a public information session, but just for clarification, I would like to ask our town manager to comment briefly again on, if I were reading this for the first time, I'm thinking to myself that today's bill is now going to increase. Could you explain just quickly, briefly, the PCA electric rate change that's going to keep this equal going forward?
Yeah, okay. What we're doing tonight is redistributing the revenue from the PCA to the base rate. So we're basically realigning the PCA back to a nominal value. And basically with that, we're also increasing our customer charge. But at the end of the day, for a resident that uses about 1,000 kilowatt hours, we see about approximately $2 a month raise. Commercial is a little different. We're also raising the customer charge as well as adjusting the rate, shifting the PCA over to the base rate. And where we see that on a commercial is about 1,000 kilowatts is about $11 additional a month.
Thank you. I thought that was important to reiterate because, again, if you're reading this today, you're thinking today's bill is now going to go up, and it's not. It's actually going to make a lot more sense for the PCA to become much, much smaller and the electric rate to be concurrent with your usage.
Anyone else? Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilman Holloway.
No.
Councilman Meza.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock.
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall.
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Council approved for a budget amendment for contribution to assist in the funding of the Independence Day celebration at the 4-H Center. Ms. Berry.
Council received a request from the Northern Virginia 4-H Center to provide a contribution from the town in an amount of $1,500 to be used towards their 2019 Independence Day celebration to be held on July 5th at the 4-H Center. If approved, council is requested to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $1,500.
May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve a budget amendment for a one-time contribution in the amount of $1,500 to assist in the funding of the 2019 Front Royal Warren County Independence Day celebration at the Northern Virginia 4-H Educational and Conference Center on July 5th, 2019.
Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
Got a second? Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. When we discussed this the other evening at our work session, I think the mayor referred to it, this money would be removed from his budget in our present, well, in our future 2020 budget. So is that correct or not?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I actually do not like that it says a one-time contribution in the amount, but I know that's going to help it go through. You can ask again next year.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I know since we've been elected, our new members here, I think this is our third organization that's come to us asking us for money. It seems like here we're raising utility rates and talking about tax increase, and we're giving away money. I'm going to vote for this tonight because we have helped out the other two organizations, but I won't be voting in the affirmative anymore, to be giving out any more money.
Anyone else? Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Mezza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least is council recommendation for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Berry.
Council is requested to consider a recommendation to the Judge of the Circuit Court to reappoint a member to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the BZA, to fill a 5-year term ending May 1st, 2024.
Motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council recommend David Gidney to the Judge of Warren County Circuit Court for the reappointment of the Front Royal Board of Zoning Appeals, or the BZA, for a 5-year term ending May the 1st, 2024.
Second.
Got a motion second, any discussion? Ms. Berry, roll call.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Mezza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall,
Yes.
and Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's no more business come before the town council. This meeting is adjourned.